Andy Lou, my man. Does it feel like NBA season's right around the corner?
Oh, today is the day. Today is the day. Yeah.
Today is the day?
Yeah. We're back. Today was finally the day. I mean, I don't know if we waited all off season for this, Sam, but good and bad, today felt like the day that the NBA season has started. That's for damn sure.
We are 5 days away from NBA camp opening, and it does feel like the season is officially start with Damian Lillard traded. Before we talk about that, I want to remind everyone, next Monday, we will be streaming live on playback.tv/Lightyears. Join us there, 8 p.m., day one of camp. Media day is Monday. Andy, I'm going to be reacting. Honestly, like, just Chris Paul media, we're going to have things to talk about. I'll tell you that.
Can we also shout out the man behind creating these amazing freaking graphics for us every single podcast? I mean, I don't know how he does it. If it were me, it would have taken me like 2.5 weeks to build this.
El Sleepy, our guy. If you follow us on Twitter, you know about El Sleepy.
Correct.
And that's my guy. And these are just a value add left and right to the show. Also, shout out to him for consistently not picking pictures that make you or me look fat.
That is very true.
Older you get, the more you think about that. You're like, it's not a flattering angle. Anyway,
Lightyear's got the best team, man. We got super producer Tim, who's on with us today. We got social media mastermind Neil, who's going to be with us for a little bit more. So shout out to Neil, and I don't know, man. I can't wait for this new season to start. I just can't wait.
I got one question here in the chat from Andreas Stevens. How do internationals watch playback with no U.S. TV services? One, if you have League Pass International, you can watch every Warriors game on playback. But two, the live show we're doing on playback will be a podcast, so no subscription required. Free to stream. No different than logging on YouTube, Twitch. The crazy guy yelling at your corner is free. So we're just moving the podcast there. We're going to keep it going there all year. Hopefully that's obvious enough and easy enough for everyone to get. But by all means, you got questions, hit me up on Twitter, shoot us emails. Definitely bother Neil about it at all times.
You got a crazy guy on your corner? I was in the Tenderloin today. It's been a while since I've been in the TL. My buddy lives out there, so a lot of crazy guys in the corner. Shout out to them, right? But anyway, yes,
that's a different podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, love that it's easy. When she asked that question, I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's free. So yeah, sweet, man. I can't wait.
Absolutely. It's a great question. So, okay, let's get to the topic of the day, because not only does it affect the whole NBA, I think it affects the Warriors more than anyone. So, Damian Lillard officially traded, loyalty no more, to the Milwaukee Bucks. Jrue Holiday gone, 3-team deal. The highlights of it are Dame to Milwaukee, Jrue plus DeAndre Ayton plus unprotected draft picks to the Portland Trailblazers. The Suns traded Ayton, which wasn't surprising, but they got a poo-poo platter of like Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson. Yeah, man. I guess like we got to start with your overarching themes here. Were you surprised he landed in Milwaukee?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I think I sat here and definitely thought he was going to end up in Miami one way or another. The hilarious thing, though, is I think he ended up in the better situation. I think Damian Lillard ended up in a place that has the best chance in the Eastern Conference to get to the NBA Finals. I think you play with the best player in the conference in Giannis. You get to play with Brook Lopez, who's a great defensive shot.
Is he the best player?
Who's better than Giannis in the Eastern Conference?
Jason Tatum? Jimmy Butler?
Stop. You're not even saying that with a straight face. You're playing with an older version of Chris Middleton, so who knows how good he is, right? He's kind of on that clay trajectory of his career. I don't know how much he has left. Brook Lopez is a solid big, protect the rim. Offense is solid, right? So I think he ended up on a place that's better than him than going to Miami and playing with Bam and Jimmy and then like nothing else behind those guys.
No Spo love, huh?
I guess, but those guys don't even come close to holding a candle to Giannis. You know what I mean? It just anytime you get to play with a top 3 player in the NBA, it's Jokic, Steph, and Giannis, right? Those are the top 3 guys in the NBA. Dame is going to get to play with one of those guys. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. He doesn't get to go to a place that's better than that, unless he really wanted to live in Miami. But it seems like he wants to win, like really win. So that's my overarching take.
You know, and the odds have immediately put Milwaukee number 1 above the Denver Nuggets, the Boston Celtics, the Suns, the Lakers, the Warriors. I wasn't surprised by that. Although, I mean, if you're to ask me, I still think Denver deserves probably to be the favorite. I would take them over Milwaukee in general. I do agree with you. It's a good situation for him, but you know, it's interesting to me that Dame, supposed top 10 player, gets traded to the team with the best player in the league, which is what most people call Giannis. If he's not the best, he's on the short list with him and Jokic, Steph, whoever you want to say. And I don't hear any crying about this being unfair. Seems to me people love to say certain players are a certain class, but their reaction tells you what they really think of said players. You know, if you actually thought Dame was on Steph Curry's tier, if you actually thought Giannis was a better player than Kevin Durant, but throwing a tantrum over how it's unfair. That's not the reaction I'm seeing. The reaction I'm seeing is, ooh, whoa, it's going to be good. You know, there's no, this is unfair going on. Curious to me. Curious.
I think, and this is the, I agree with you. I think this is the tier that Dame is in, right? He's in the tier that people can feel bad about, because when you look at the graphics, like people are throwing up graphics of like shout out to the Damian Lillard era in Portland, and Sheed, Warriors World, threw up a tweet and said, what era? Right? And you really look back at what he's done in Portland, and it's really nothing. It's really not this huge, oh, he won him a championship, or they made 3 NBA finals, or they made 4 Western Conference finals, right? Or he won an MVP.
They were just media savvy. That's all.
Right. Like he is, right? So he really hasn't, and I'm saying this compared to the greatest players in the NBA, right? Because that feels like that's what Dame is compared to. That's all. I just think he's a tier 3 NBA player, right? There's a Steph tier. There's a tier below Steph. I put like James Harden and prime James Harden, prime Russell Westbrook in tier 2. And then there's a Dame tier, right? I put guys like Paul George in that tier, right? Like just really freaking good basketball players that has made a couple runs maybe deep in the postseason. But other than that, man, like they're fine. So I think your point, that's why people don't, like, none of this is unfair, because you can make an argument that they shouldn't even be the favorites. They're a good team, but like, you can't. Right.
That's my question for you. Dame is the more accomplished player. He's definitely the flashier player. Are they actually a better team with this trade?
I know you asked that question because you have a really. I think they are. You think they're not?
I am reserving judgment and hedging like a dick right now. So on the one hand, Dame does everything that no one on the Bucks does. Dame can close a game, get his own shot. Oh, you're going to overplay Giannis. Finally, someone who will punish you on that sort of thing repeatedly. On the other hand, I don't think Jrue gets enough credit for how good he is defensively. I think a lot of people get a reputation for being good defensively, and then there are dudes who actually make your life hell. And Jrue is on that list of guys. I'll put it this way. Ask Steph Curry who guards him better than anyone. Sure. His first answer will be Jrue Holiday.
Always. Sure.
Ask KD who's the best guard defender in the NBA. Jrue Holiday. He's the consistent answer. For some reason, Marcus Smart won a defensive player of the year, but like, if you listen to players, they'll always say Drew's the best at that specific thing. He also guards wings. He's a good defender. So now you're looking at Dame, who's not a defensive player, Middleton, who could absolutely play defense if his legs are there, but it's unclear what he is. And I'm not sure what else they have on the wings. Pat Connaughton? mean, that's an Andy Liu player, but let's be realistic.
That's correct.
And Brook Lopez, I'm not convinced his rim protection and ability to play drop coverage is as effective without Jrue Holiday guarding the point of attack. So all of this is a fancy way of saying, yeah, they address their offense, but it hurts their defense. They're going to have to figure out a way to address that too. Would not surprise me if it nets kind of even. Now it's easier for Boston to throw up 120 on them. They might throw up 125 though, you know?
Yeah. And my counterpoint is their defense wasn't very good anyway. They weren't stopping Miami in that series. Jrue was getting cooked. Brook, to your point, I agree with you. He's pretty overrated as a defender, especially in the regular season. Especially in the postseason. Regular season's fine. You can do the drop bullshit, but when the games really matter, like that guy can't come out in the perimeter. It gets ugly for him, right? But I do think Jrue's also a pretty bad offensive player in the postseason, and I think that mucked up a lot of stuff from Milwaukee. Again, all this stuff doesn't matter if Giannis falls on his back and he misses 4 games and you're just screwed, right? But I don't know, man. Jrue is a pretty bad offensive player. Some of the numbers that are out there for him, the last 3 postseasons, 48 right? It's 46, 49, and then a 40s in terms of true shooting percentage. Like that's pretty ugly stuff.
Your actual ability to shoot the ball shows in the playoffs. A lot of players shoot 35 to 40% in the regular season from 3. And then when you guard him in the playoffs, not so nice. And I think Drew's on that list. Like,
sure. And shot looks good. Like to me, like I always feel like it's not like his shot's ugly or anything. I always feel like he can make it, but I mean, it's multiple postseasons now. Even the postseason, remember, even the one that they won the championship, he was pretty bad offensively for long stretches of that postseason where we're just like, man, is he's shooting? So there's that, right? He is shooting the ball, but
he's like an Iguodala type of player where you're like, great defender, smart winning player. I'm not trusting any percentage I see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because just because he hit some on a Wednesday game against Portland, it doesn't mean he's going to hit them against real playoff basketball. You know?
Yep. So I think you throw Dame there. He's obviously he's not. I just talked about how he's not Steph. He's not Harden, but he is a damn good offensive player. I don't know how good he is anymore because he is older, but I just imagine a Dame Giannis pick and roll, whoever's screening, and it's nasty. Brook can space it out on offense. Chris Middleton's a reliable jump shooter, even if he has no legs. So yes, the question marks are on defense. How good is Giannis going to be that can cover up those flaws? But Sam, offensively, which is kind of the issues that Milwaukee has had for a few years now, I would have to say the best team in the East. I'm not taking Boston over them. No shot.
All I'm going to say is, what's Boston's weakness?
They've got 2 guys that can't dribble.
Dribble with their left hand.
Yeah, they got 2 guys. Yeah.
Who's going to pressure the ball? They just made it a little easier. Well, they did both things. They made it easier for them on offense, made it a hell of a lot harder for them on defense.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a defense for offense trade for Milwaukee.
Yep.
Maybe I'm just becoming an old man, but I'm starting to get a little like, I'm not going to crown teams just because they make a trade for a player who's had really good stats and is like generally a good player, but is not proven it at this level consistently. That's where my head's at right now.
It certainly feels like if Damian Lillard is as good as I think a lot of people is talking. I mean, he's on the all NBA top 75, which it's just
if he's a top 75 player, they're going to win the title. They win the title.
Exactly.
He can scream. He can scream anything is possible. You know, we can do that.
If he's that good, like they should win the title. If he truly
no excuses.
Exactly.
No excuses. Giannis is a top 5 player. Any other top 5 player gets a player of Dame's caliber, you're going to be like, title or bust. There's no, we made a spirited Eastern Conference Finals run. No. Win it all. Like, I mean, look, we're talking ourselves into Chris Paul, and you may or may not believe it, but you're not going to celebrate Chris Paul fitting in and them getting to the conference finals. It's title or bust. That's it.
Not for me.
No, that's it. That's it. It's about expectations. Dame has gone from everyone loves him because he has no expectations to you lose in the finals. No one's going to be like, good job, bro. You know, get it done. That's it. And that's a completely different expectation level. And that's all I'm trying to call out here. You know, speaking of who has that expectation level, Kevin Durant, friend of the show. So Kitty,
does listen.
I feel like they're the only loser of this trade. I don't get it from their angle. I really don't. I get why they wanted to trade Ayton. We even did a pod a week or so ago where we were kind of discussing, you know, if they could flip Ayton into kind of like dirty work guys, they could be really dangerous, right? They could be scary. And I don't know that they did that. I'm watching this and I'm just like, Nurkic, okay, hasn't really played defense in 5 years.
Hasn't really played basketball in 5 years.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He's always hurt. But let's assume some of that's because the Blazers suck and there's resting and that sort of thing. Sure. He's not he might play physical, but I don't think he's a defensive anchor type.
Oh.
Nasir Little, solid wing, like kind of interesting.
Not solid. He's not solid. Come on.
Interesting.
Sure. Okay. Fine.
Maybe theoretical, you know?
Yes. Theoretical is the right word.
Keon Johnson. Another theoretical player.
Come on, man.
And then Grayson, like, yeah, he's just. Okay. I don't think they needed a shooter though. They got Dame, they got Beal. Yeah. Sorry, they got Booker, they got Beal, they got Eric. Like they're not hurting for guys to come off screens.
I don't get it. I don't get it. You just talked about it. They need glue guys. Are these glue guys? Glue guys are guys that are going to be there defending, are going to be there rebounding, are going to be there doing things that KD, Dame, Beal, I keep saying Dame, Beal and Book don't want to do. Exactly. GP2, perfect example. That's who the Warriors want Kuminga to do, right? Who knows what Kuminga gets there? But like even Andrew Wiggins, even Andrew Wiggins is doing the dirty things on their way to a championship. He's the guy that's rebounding. He's the guy that just sticks in the corner, hits a shot. He's the guy that's cutting. He's the guy that's defending, which nobody ever notices because it's defense, right? Do any of these guys do that?
That's how you know we're in like old man stage. We're just yelling about defense on the pod. Oh.
They've got 15 guys on the team, and the top 4 guys can score 140 points. Everybody's sitting here slurping the Suns. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I feel like we haven't ranted about the Suns in a while, so this is kind of like feels good.
I mean, Nasir Little is the type of player they need, which is a wing guy who's more interested in rebounding and kind of filling the gaps than calling his own number. But to your point, like maybe like he kind of did it on a bad Blazers team. I would think they could get a guy who's proven for DeAndre Ayton. Like that's my thing. I would think if you're trading DeAndre Ayton, you should be able to get guys who do that, who have proven. Like you should be able to get the PJ Tuckers of the world. You should be able to get OG Anunoby.
OG is the one.
Apparently, he'll only trade him for Jokic or Giannis.
Yeah, maybe.
But maybe if they throw in a pick, right?
Yeah.
But like my point is, I would think a guy like Ayton would get you kind of like a couple proven glue guys, maybe a Marcus Smart, like those type of guys.
Sure.
And it's Nurkic and a bunch of guys who maybe their front office looks like geniuses. Maybe Nasir Little is the breakout glue guy of the year this year. But I don't know. It looks really fucking underwhelming, right?
It's not. It's You literally named all the guys that I was thinking of, right?
Sure.
When I talk about guys that you're going to need to win a championship, and right now they don't. We love Yuta Watanabe. Would have loved it if he was a Warrior, but Yuta Watanabe is a stick in the corner, shoot a three guy. He's not a we're going to get big rebounds and get a stop guy. That's not who he is.
Well, he gets down to 12 minutes a game in the conference finals at most, right?
Maybe,
like
yeah, maybe, yeah.
You throwing him out there to, yeah. We're talking about like, okay, you got 3 explosive offensive players. You want to basically surround them with as many like GP2s as possible, right?
Exactly. And the guys that they have looking at the roster is Josh Okogie. He's fine. Like he could play a little bit of a role, and then like maybe Damian Lee, sort of, but we know how he is defensively. He's another one of those shooter type of guys. And then
more of a regular season dude. Yeah.
It's just these guys, like, I don't know, maybe they win 56 games in the regular season, but then things get really tough, especially in I don't know.
I mean, I keep going back to this. I would have thought you could have got more for DeAndre Ayton. I don't even like Ayton, but he's young and he is very talented. So it's like, maybe. Anyway,
it felt like a dump. It felt like a salary, not a salary,
right?
Like a player dump, where they were just like, I mean, it's kind of like the Warriors with Poole, and I know people are like, you couldn't got the contract is crazy and all that, but like the Warriors dumped Poole. It was just like, let's just get off of it, right? And it felt like the Suns were just like, let's just.
The Warriors got a first ballot Hall of Famer for Jordan. Take that the fuck back, dude. I am all in on the Chris Paul era. This might be my biggest gamble in like, when's the last time I went this far out on a take? It's been a minute.
You don't even gamble in Vegas. So I don't even know. It's insane.
By the way, I need the point guard renaissance in Golden State. I need people to be lying about how excited they were about it the whole time. I need Zach Lowe to go on his show and go, Chris freaking Paul, or some crap like that. I need everyone to talk it up. I'm honestly way too invested in this at this point.
You were just every day talking about how much you love Chris Paul. It's honestly, I think it's hilarious because one of us is gonna win. I hope you win because we both win. But if I win, I'm not gonna be happy about it. Like, it doesn't make us anywhere. But maybe there's a threat.
I can see you side eyeing me. You're like, you're officially unsure if I believe what I'm saying or not.
The problem is, I think you truly believe it. That's the sickest part of this. Is I think you're seriously believing, and I'm over here hoping that he gets traded for Jrue Holiday in 3 months or 4 months, right? I think you're locked in. That's the real issue. You know what I mean? I'm over here begging any chance that the Warriors can get off of Chris Paul, and I'm sitting here like, oh, Portland's trying to reroute Jrue Holiday?
Yeah. So that was it. That's the other piece of this, which is probably the more relevant part to the Warriors. Obviously, Suns in the division, you think about it. But Windhorse said this, Woj said this, but I'm going to read the Windhorse one. Even the Golden State Warriors, who have interesting young players on their roster, plus a few far-out draft picks and swaps when Steph Curry might be retired, could join the race, provided they'd be willing to retrade Chris Paul, who members of the organization have praised for his offseason work trying to fit in. Southwest flight. They're not trading him. The dude showed up at LAX at 5 a.m., boarding group A22, asking people where his seat is because he wanted to work out with Steph. He wanted to work out with Pajemski. He wanted to work out with Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, this is a winner. You're not trading that for a Jrue Holiday type. No. Okay.
Hold on.
Drew's getting traded.
Hold on. Do you really think that the Warriors, if that deal is in front of them, they wouldn't do that trade?
If it's 1-for-1?
I mean, the Warriors would have to probably throw in like contract matching and maybe a pick.
The contracts match right now. So in theory, they could do the trade without adding anything.
Let's say they send them I mean, Drew's only got 1 more year left. I mean, how much can they actually get from the Warriors? It's not like Jrue has 3 years.
5 years younger.
They just want to get off. So what? Do you throw Kuminga in there? Would you do that? Kuminga in a pick?
I would not. I would not. Even though Jrue is meant to be a Warrior, I know you would do it, but
I would do it.
I would not do it because I think they have to hold off on the potential of Kuminga and Chris Paul for a player who's taller than 6'3". Although, like to be frank, most 6'7" guys can't guard like Jrue. So
you can close with Jrue Holiday, man. That's my thing. You can close with Jrue Holiday.
He's a big guard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah. You can close with Jrue Holiday. You can't close with Chris. You can't. You can try to close with Chris Paul. I don't believe it. But do you think that they would? Here, better question, because the listeners know where I stand. The listener knows where you stand. We don't need to revisit it. Where do you think Steph and Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob? Let's say the season's like going okay. But, there's some tension there, which is the most likely scenario, is that there's some tension with Chris Paul that's not super bought in. And that trade is on the how interested are they at the trade deadline to make that move? Because from what Windhorse is saying, it feels to me that they're like, okay, like this is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about optionality. This is exactly what we're talking about.
So I think it just comes down to the cost. I think... Are you willing to trade multiple draft picks to get off Chris Paul and to get Jrue Holiday? Do you think? Okay, let me put it this way: if you trade Jrue and Kuminga and you throw in a future first in 2 years, when Steph is 38 years old, how confident do you feel it's a title team?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that's a for sure title team. That's yeah. I wouldn't be that certain.
Would you make the bet?
I would. That's the thing. But again, it's not my job on the line, but so it's easy for me to say that.
Well, but Kirk's not getting fired either if it's wrong. So.
Yeah. Wow, that is so true. You're not going anywhere. I would make the bet, but it does feel like to me. It feels like they're more waiting for Joel Embiid. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're more waiting for Joel Embiid.
I hope not.
There we agree there that I hope not. But it feels like they're saying, let's go get Joel Embiid in the offseason when he asks.
I would. It hurt. I really like Jrue Holiday. I really like Jrue Holiday. I would want him on the Warriors, but like if they're gonna cash in, it has to be a dude who's over 6'7". It doesn't need to be a center. I just need it to be a guy who can play the 4 or 5 for them. You know
that Jrue Holiday or Brandon Ingram?
Ingram.
Yeah, no, that's not even close for me. See that's maybe that's where we differ. Yeah.
I think Steve can get Ingram up to speed.
I want proven winners. The Warriors don't have that much time. They don't have that much time. I want proven players that can make winning plays. I know Jrue can do it, even if he's smaller. I think Ingram's kind of fraudulent. But I see what you're saying, though, because they can. You want a guy that can be the next Wiggins.
I like. Yeah, that's actually exactly what it comes down to. Because I do think Ingram has. I think he has it in him. I think, to your point, he has quote unquote bad habits you gotta get out of, right? Like that sort of thing. But dude. 6'9" with that level of skill is very hard to teach.
Correct.
Actually, you can't teach it.
No.
That's why we're discussing, can they play Chris Paul power forward? So,
well, that's why we're saying, is Kuminga going to take the leap? Because I don't know.
I mean, and do you agree with me? Like I think Kuminga is more the swing piece for this team than Chris Paul.
I think so. Yeah.
I think Chris Paul will be fine. The drama will be what it is, but Kuminga is that like big wing who completes lineups who they need. And, they sign. Okay, that's a good transition. They signed Rudy Gay today to a non-guaranteed camp contract. Rudy Gay at one point was Brandon Ingram, right? He was that same type of guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's now 37, but that's the point. You can't find those guys who are 6'8", 6'9", power forwards in the modern NBA, wings with ball handling and shot creation skills that easily in general. So I think you kind of have to, if one of those guys comes up, you kind of have to gamble if you have to believe that you can that they're about the right things. You got to gamble that you can like coach it out of them a little bit.
Yeah. I just don't. That's not a gamble I want to take with these guys in the twilight of their career. But the swing there is like Jrue's like a double, right? You get him, that's a double, and you score a run, and you might be able to win up one.
Andy's anti-Giants takes right here. Just get on base.
Yeah, Giants get on base. They just don't get anyone in. You know what I mean? That's their thing. Brandon Ingram's like, you're right, but then Brandon Ingram's a 2-run homer. If you can get it to work,
or strikeout,
or just the strikeout. Exactly.
Yeah. It's
exactly.
a high leverage play. Should we talk about Rudy Gay real quick?
Yeah, let's go Rudy Gay because I got some takes here too.
Okay, so they signed him, camp non-guarantee. We didn't really talk on this too much on the last pod, but Mike Dunleavy talking about how they want to respect their optionality for the final roster spots. We brought 50 players in.
Yeah,
we're gonna see who wins it out in camp, and we're seeing the first one. Rudy Gay is obviously a pretty big name for a camp invite. I don't know. Where are your thoughts on this?
It's funny. I think the wording is funny, first and foremost. They didn't even say camp invite in the wording, so I thought it was pretty hilarious. I think a lot of people thought the Warriors just signed Rudy Gay.
Too good a player to you gotta frame it correctly.
Correct. Right. Correct. Same with Dwight Howard. Like they never I think his thing was like, you're not gonna invite me to camp, right? You either sign me or you don't, right? It's Dwight Howard, who's even more, his prime was better than Rudy Gay. I think it's, we knew this was coming. Steph loves him. He was still pretty good last season in the 15 minutes he played a game. I think he's become a super smart, aware player. Because you're right, though. He did play very similarly to Brandon Ingram today. Like that type of guy, super raw, mid-range jump shot, slow down the offense, like not really a winning player. And then he kind of just figured out how to just stay in the league for 20 years. It reminds me of how Vince Carter was the super athletic guy that played a certain way, and then he just got older and was like, you know what, I'm just gonna adapt with the NBA, and I think that's what Rudy Gay has done. So it feels like a long way of saying he's just a smart, winning, high IQ type of guy that can give you 15 minutes, probably a good locker room presence. I would like the Warriors to sign him, because what are the other options? Like, are they looking for a younger guy? Are they looking for, because they're none of those guys, right? So I don't know. I wouldn't mind it.
I mean, they could get Dwight, honestly. Still on the table. But I do kind of think getting Usman Garuba, having Kuminga in the mix, having Trace Jackson Davis, these are 3 young front court players. It makes sense to have the 14th or 15th guy on the roster be someone like Rudy Gay, who's, he might turn back the clock 1 or 2 nights, but he's older, right? Like he is what he is. He's gonna
what you're gonna get, which is might be a good thing.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's interesting. I do think the vets will want him, but I'm curious to see what other names they invite, because I wouldn't be surprised if they end up keeping a GP2 type, an Anthony Lamb type.
Yeah.
Instead.
Big difference between GP2 and Anthony Lamb.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I kind of like a G League grinder, right, where you're just like, you're just kind of outplaying him.
I very much dislike. I listened to the Mike Dunleavy show with our guy Slates, and he
Time Horizons, baby.
That was disgusting. I don't even know what that means. It meant nothing. He brought up Trace Jackson Davis a lot and Usman Garuba. I didn't really like that. The Trace Jackson Davis stuff just reminded me of Ryan Rollins. It was just like, look, man, he's a second rounder. He's a second rounder for a reason. He's a rookie. Like, we have no idea how good he's going to be. More likely than not, he's not going to be good. And I don't necessarily think that I don't think they're relying like super heavily on him, but I do think that they think he's ready to play. I think that's a mistake. I doubt that Trace Jackson Davis is ready to play NBA basketball right now. And it's not his fault. He's just never played NBA basketball. We have no idea. So them kind of thinking that he's going to be good enough to play NBA basketball is scary. Same with Usman Garuba. So that's why I was all in on the Dwight Howard stuff.
Worth calling out, Trace Jackson Davis 2 years older than Ryan Rollins.
24, right? He's like old. Yeah.
He'll be 24 midseason.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't necessarily hate them keeping the optionality at the end of the bench, though, because they can always pick up a Dwight Howard type midseason.
Sure.
But they have to actually do it. So it does feel like for the backup front court guys, they're leaning on younger guys. They've done it in the past. I guess the best way to look at it is like Trayce Jackson-Davis, Usman Garuba. Those dudes are system fits. We'll see if their system fits at the highest level. Yeah. But at least it's not the same as bringing in an athlete who clearly has no clue how to play Warrior basketball. Yeah. And just be like, yeah, just fill the role. Be like JaVale, So
figure it out, Christian Wood.
Exactly. All right, we're going to end it here. Guys, we got a special pod coming for you this weekend. Special guest. I'm not going to tell you who just yet. But we want to see everyone Tuesday on Playback. Playback.tv/Lakers. Join us there. Mobile app. Doesn't matter. Going to be a fun time.